I'm Parker Bosley, and I'm part of the Fresh Fork community, and I have the privilege and opportunity to talk to you about something that I think is really important at the dinner table, and that would be making the gravy for the potatoes or the dressing or over the sliced turkey. But within that ladle or cup or whatever of gravy, you will contain a lot of flavor of the bird and the vegetables that were used in roasting and so forth. So if it's put together and correctly, that's a great addition to that plate in front of your guest. In the bottom of the roasting pan, it's a good idea to do just this, to have some celery and some carrots and some onion, just coarsely chopped, and you can put that in the bottom, and don't worry, yes, it's going to get very, very, very brown, might even look a little burned. That's okay, that's going to be good color for the gravy. To thicken, and that's the important thing, the pan juices and these flavors that are given off by the vegetables and the meat and seasoning, you will use flour. You could use cornstarch, but I don't think that works too well. Flour is, for me, the thing to do. Okay, there's a ratio that you can think about for a tablespoon of fat, you might say butter, lard, or the drippings from the roasting the turkey. We'll take 2 tablespoons of flour. So 1 tablespoon of fat, 2 of flour. So you could change that and say, well, 1 cup of fat and 2 cups of flour. So it's just that ratio. And it's very safe. You don't have to worry about too thick or even too thin, because if it is thick, you simply add more liquid to it. And for that, it's a good idea. In fact, the most important idea is that you have some stock. Some maybe the day before you've made some broth with the wings or the neck or something like that. Or you have simply reached into your freezer and brought out some stock that you have made. Or you can have that as part of your turkey Thanksgiving package from Fresh Fork Market. You can make sure that you got some stock. It's just good to have for several things that you might be doing for the Thanksgiving dinner. So I have started, to illustrate this, some fat and some flour. And I'm going to take you to the stove, and we're going to look at that and see how we can then turn that into a gravy. I've got a little head start here. I melted that tablespoon of butter in the pan, and yes, I have a heavy bottom pan, a thick pan. Don't a thin pan, you have a good chance of burning. And then I put in the 2 tablespoons of flour, and you can see from this that is the roux. I could have put in 1 tablespoon and had something a little thinner, but I think this is fine, and you'll see what's going to happen, because now I'll add the 2 cups of liquid. And I have some stock here, broth if you prefer. You could put in 1 cup of milk and 1 cup of stock if you prefer. And this will, as I whisk around, this is going to thicken because of the flour, and that's exactly what you want. And you don't have to worry if it's too thin, if it's too thick. You can always add some flour if it's too thin. So how would you do that? Well, you would make another kind of roux. Just make it smaller, maybe a half a tablespoon of butter and one tablespoon of flour. Do that. And if you have soft butter, and that's a good idea, keep some there. You can do something that doesn't even need a stove. You put some butter and some flour together and mix around with a spoon, and you just do this, and you keep putting in bits of this. The French refer to this as beurre manier, butter and hand butter. So here is my roux, and it will be kind of thin, but we'll let it cook for a bit, and it will, of course, thicken up. It's not going to be very colorful or interesting at this point because it's flour, butter, and stock. That's about it. Maybe if we used it for soup, then it would be very good. So that takes care of the technical thing. Butter, fat, flour, liquid. That is the thing that just thickens all the juices and so forth that you have in the roasting pan from doing your turkey. And that's what we're going to look at now, the roasting pan, and we'll start from there. So imagine if you remove from your oven this large roasting pan, this beautiful Fresh Fork Market bird, and all of the guests are eager and they just can't wait to sit down at the table and have that wonderful meal. So I had roasted today just some turkey backs so that I could get some good fat coming out of that, and some vegetables that you see here that I had shown you earlier, and how they, have softened up and colored. You'll see some on the bottom of the pan. Yours will have been in the oven a much longer time, and you're going to have a lot more color, particularly from onions. Onions are full of sugar, actually, and that sugar is what caramelizes, and that's why onions burn very easily, because the sugar comes out and the sugar burns. But you want that color, so sometimes you purposely would burn some onions. So let's take this to the stove, and I'm going to simply put in flour and make a roux once again, but I'm not going to do butter and flour separately. This fat that you see in here is actually going to become the fat that the butter, although it's turkey fat. Now that we have taken out the turkey that's over there resting, you're getting ready to slice that or present it however you choose, we can work on this. And already you can see that I am going to remove some of this nice color around here with the heat and my wooden spatula. And this is a very nice instrument for doing this, because you're not going to scratch anything, but you're going to get all that. So you can see there's not much color left on the pan, and that's really nice. So our fat is there, so I'm going to add the flour. And I'm not worried too much about the exact amount of flour I add, but here's you can see I continually scrape this because and we say we're kind of browning the flour, and we are. And don't worry if it's sticking to the bottom of the pan. That's going to now. Before adding the stock, there are some options here. For instance, I would probably add, maybe for this amount, I would probably add a half cup of Madeira. And I wouldn't use the $17 a bottle Madeira. I would use what I call grocery store Madeira. And and it's not for drinking, despite what you might think. It is for cooking. So that also will give a little color. Two very important ingredients in my kitchen, and I do have colleagues who make fun of my choices, but I have thyme and Madeira. Those are two very, very important things because they're both basic ingredients in French cooking. They're like salt and pepper are to cooking. So I would also perhaps put some thyme, dried thyme, into this. And so here we have, you can see it coming together. That is going to be kind of a thinner gravy, and I think that's good. I think most of us have had the misfortune of being at a table when somebody passes the gravy and it's not much more than thickened liquid with a lot of flour. So ours is going to be much different than that and much better, of course. So again, as you notice when I scrape this way, there's no more color left on the bottom of the pan. You don't see a flour that has stuck to the bottom of the pan. You are here. You have made that Thanksgiving gravy. We'll season it now and check, see if we need to do anything else with it. And all the folks at the table are going to be very pleased when they get to put this over the mashed potatoes or over the meat if they prefer. And so here we are. I'm going to strain the gravy now because we're not going to present it at the table with chopped up carrots and things like that. So we'll strain it and then check the seasoning, and we'll be ready for dinner. Now, make sure you taste this. Just check it. And since it's family and friends, you can just do it with your finger, right? And if you think that, well, it's just, I kind of like flour, then just go back to the stove and cook just a little bit more because you want to destroy the taste of flour. So I'm going to just strain it into here, and notice I don't need or use my wooden spatula anymore. I have a nice rubber or plastic or whatever it might be made of. Who knows, right? Let's look at that. And then we're going to work this through. Now you will be working with a much larger amount, I'm sure. So, especially if you have all 20 people for the dinner, so you probably could ask for a little help. So the person that, is getting in the way or whatever, you could say, oh, I think you should help me. And that'll keep that person occupied and not bothering anyone. So here we have it. And I'm going to just add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And here again, be careful about that because remember, you've probably seasoned the turkey and you have other seasonings that may have been on the vegetables and so forth, so you might not need very much. But at this point, you have a really nice gravy, nice texture, it's very smooth, and your guests will say, wow, that's really nice. That looks so good on the plate. And so there's the gravy. For Thanksgiving dinner, the turkey's roasted, the vegetables are all done, and here you are. And I'm sure that the cook is going to get a lot of praise from the guests. I hope that my demonstration and suggestions and cautions, perhaps, will help you on the Thanksgiving Day when you're putting all of these things together. Important for you, the cook or the cooks, is that you taste as you cook and you cook as you taste, because you have to be that person who said, I think it needs a little more salt and pepper. I think it needs a little more thickening. That's your job, and you're the cook, so your opinion is the most important opinion. I hope all of you have a wonderful dinner, wonderful meal, and have people gathered around your table who appreciate your cooking and bringing together this very, very important day for families and friends. It's really, for me, I think, the truest and the most American of any holiday. And conversation at the dinner table is so important. And borrowing from a French expression that I love very much, which is autour de la table, on peut refaire le monde, which translates as around the table, we can remake the world. And we can. And good food is a wonderful vehicle for good conversation that is constructive.